We've all known for a very long time that national elections are expensive. But who knew that proxy battles for corporations could cost so much? The Walt Disney Company and affiliates have apparently spent a huge sum of money, mind-boggling bags of dinero going out the door. Unlike Scrooge McDuck, they are not holding on to their cash. Folks, we're going to tell you how much they spent to try to stop Nelson Peltz. Let's dive in right now. Hello folks, welcome back to the channel that has an attitude of gratitude every single time you click. We appreciate you. You are seen, heard, and folks, that's why we are here, to give you the latest in entertainment news, analysis like you will find nowhere else, and today we're talking about Peltz, Nelson Peltz, the Trian group. They were trying to get on the board of the Walt Disney Company, shenanigans abounding, but guess what else? Money in bountiful bags going out the doors from the Bob Iger company. Today we're going to tell you how much they spent to try to stop Nelson Peltz, Jay Rasulo, and survive at least another year into the proxy battle. This is out of Business Insider. It's by Peter Kafka. It says the expensive fight for Disney's future is about to come to a head. This is not the only Disney story we have today about the proxy battle. And tomorrow, folks, we anticipate a massive audience, massive interest, as we begin the coverage of this, starting with the Culture Casino channel. Culture, what time are you doing yours tomorrow?
We'll start off at the same time, very early in the morning, which would be, wow, it has to be even earlier, doesn't it?
I've got, Culture, bad news. I've got you listed for 10 a.m. tomorrow Eastern time. Are you ready to wake up?
I'll be awake. I'll be fine. It'll be fine.
11 a.m. Eastern time. You're switching over to the Pro Show, and then at 12:30 p.m. noon Eastern, 12:30 Eastern, you'll be going to Valiant Renegade. All of those are going to be automatically redirected, folks. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to go anywhere. If you're at work, if you're in your truck, if you're taking the kids out for ballet or soccer or football or whatnot, just leave it on. It will play. Don't touch the dial. All right, continuing on, Business Insider. This says Disney's proxy battle is expected to cost the company and rival hedge funds at least $70 million. Or as we in the business like to say, 1/3 of the losses they took for Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny. Retail investors make up a big chunk of Disney's shareholders, and it's expensive to reach them. The outcome of the shareholder vote could change Disney's direction, but its impact is still unclear. Here's the article. This week's big Disney shareholder vote is supposed to be a seismic event, a referendum on the future of one of the world's most important entertainment companies. Maybe. But we can definitively say that the Disney proxy battle, which concludes on Wednesday, has been a nice boost for a collection of consultants and media companies. It's also been a boost for the share price, which we all told you would happen, even though we're not financial advisors whatsoever. That's because Disney and the hedge funds battling for seats on the company's board of directors are expected to spend some $70 million to wrangle votes over the course of the campaign. All right, we're going to stop there for a moment because I want to get the panel's thoughts on this. Lorena, let me go to you. What do you think about Disney spending $70 million, according to this and according to their allies, $70 million not to generate extra wealth, not to create new shows for Disney Plus, but simply to stop a single man and his pal, the former CFO, Jay Rasulo, Nelson Peltz, from getting on the Disney board and having a minority view that would give them 1/6 of the control of just the board of directors. What do you make of spending $70 million to stop that?
Well, I kind of have the picture of Scrooge McDuck in my head, knocking Iger over the head with this cane, but how stupid of an investment. Wouldn't even call it an investment, just basically setting money on fire. I see $70 million and I'm just like, you couldn't spend that $70 million in a better way, like increasing cast member salaries, investing into the parks, plussing that, doing things that actually show you want to improve the engine that feeds the rest of the company, which would be the parks. It is an exercise in futility and just an absolutely ridiculous move. So basically, you just spent $70 million of shareholder money.
You could buy a whole heck of a lot of power wash proof lights for $70 million.
Oh yes. Ooh. and pay the people who will actually do them right.
That's an incredibly good point right now. It's only been very recently that Walt Disney World has even agreed to do affordable housing in Orlando, even though that was something they obviously promised like 60 years ago.
Yeah, they keep saying that.
This company will come up with millions of dollars, billions of dollars in cost savings, which means getting rid of people. But this issue right here, they want to keep that opinion off the board so strongly that they're willing to spend all of this money and I'll say degrade themselves with the way they've behaved during this proxy fight. All of these ugly terms and these political attack ads that have come out. I've lost even more respect for them than I had before for all of this just nastiness that's come out because they don't want anybody on that board that doesn't 100% agree with whatever Bob Iger wants to do. When you 100% agree with Bob Iger and aren't willing to push back, that's how you pay what is it, 20 to 40 billion dollars more for Fox than you should, whether or not you should have even bought Fox at all.
Well, never mind the comparison to the losses on Indy. I wonder what they're spending on reshoots on the new Captain America, and if that's 70 million.
Ooh.
Well, here's a thought for all of you. This really fascinates me because now, folks, this is the part of the show. If Pro's going to say anything, pay attention to what Pro's about to say right now. The way that I look at this is the best case. This is going to shock people that I say this. The best case scenario for Disney tomorrow is if Peltz wins. I'm not talking about like some grand scheme of the company will be pushed in the right direction. I'm talking about Bob Iger's best case scenario is for Nelson Peltz to win and Jay Rasulo to not win. Okay? Let me explain that, and then I'm going to tell you why I think this $70 million is insane and defies what the company should be doing. If Nelson Peltz gets on the board all by himself tomorrow, if that's what happens, Bob Iger can still stay on as CEO. Bob Iger can still do all of the consultation he wants to do afterwards to make all that money, which really will involve him maybe once a month stopping by to take a shower. But Nelson Peltz will be on the board, and Disney is set up to do very poorly, I think, this year. And then the assertion can be, well, Peltz really didn't help. And then that will satisfy, perhaps, narratives to keep Peltz from getting additional board seats next year. If Peltz does not win tomorrow, then Peltz is looking at a Disney that is damaged, an Iger that looks like Eisner in the last year, and Peltz is probably looking at a year where the box office for Disney is going to go very, very poorly. And Peltz could potentially aim for about 4 board seats next year, and he probably would win it. He's got the backing of ISS. He would gain the backing of many other institutions over the next 12 months if Disney performs poorly. So the worst case scenario for Bob Iger is for Peltz not to be on that board. And that is strange, but I think it's the case. That's why I think the $70 million is insane. Maybe they should try to stop Jay Rasulo because he's the former CFO and he knows where the skeletons are. But stopping Peltz, this might have been the middle ground that could have kept the Wolves, which I think the Wolves in this case are the good guys, at bay. As we're looking at it, if this $70 million keeps Peltz out of here, all it's going to do is have run all the gas out of the tank for Disney, blowing all the goodwill, blowing all of these empty, vapid headlines to get past this moment so that Peltz can bring tremendous additional ammunition and more board seats next year. Panel, where am I wrong?
You're not wrong, but let me shade it a little. One, just because Rasulo doesn't get on if Peltz does, doesn't mean Rasulo is not involved, because when Peltz starts getting into the numbers, who does he turn to for the biggest amount of advice? Who becomes part of his shadow management that Disney casts all these aspersions on? So he's still involved. There's no doubt about that in my mind. Secondly, there is no doubt that they're going to have a terrible year in this year. They just are. So at the end of the year, when he comes back again, all of these institutional people who voted for are going to be asked, well, what the heck did you do? You voted for and it didn't get better, it got worse. Their own credibility is on the line. It's just that simple. And I think that's what CalPERS realized, because remember, these
Hold
pension
up,
funds.
Luke. Tell the folks out there what CalPERS is.
Oh, CalPERS is the California State Employees Pension Fund. It's the biggest pension fund in the world, as far as I know, or one of. And they voted their votes for Peltz. And that means, remember, pension funds are under much tighter rules as far as how much risk they are allowed to acquire in their portfolio, because they're protecting retirees who are public employees. And there are rules about that, I know from my work with various guilds. And when they said, we don't see what the problem is with having a couple of fresh eyes on this thing, they were saying something very, very, very powerful. Well, even BlackRock, even T. Rowe Price, even all these big operators have got to get to a point where, well, you did it your way and it didn't work. What are you going to do now if nothing goes through this time? So that's what I think about what you said.
The other thing, Lou, is we had the headlines come out saying that Peltz has lost the lead today. Now, I'm not going to rehash that video, but I simply will say that BlackRock and the others that you mentioned, excuse me, they were said to be voting for Iger and his crew. If they're already part of that 50% that had voted, that's included in those stories, that's a great sign for Peltz, because that means the big votes have already come in, and that would leave the remaining votes potentially swinging back in his favor. I want to go to Lorena, though. Lorena, as we get to the point where we have to say goodbye, tell me your thoughts on Peltz, his chances, and do you think, as I do, that just Peltz by himself is the best scenario for Disney?
Oh man. Well, ideally, I hope that Peltz pulls this off. If he does, you're going to see a massive shakeup within Disney with respect to what they do going forward. I mean, having Peltz on the board is going to be the best kick in the ass to this company, because you have someone who isn't the weatherman. He isn't about making those Hollywood connections. He is about making Disney back to being a money-making company. How? By focusing on the things that made Disney a household name in the first place. And frankly, it's past time that's needed. Now, if Iger happens to win, still the same thing. Peltz isn't going anywhere. And a lot of other shareholders who are not the institutional shareholders, so say the people like me, you have a couple shares of stock, if they're smart, your eyes have been pretty much open to what's been going on, to just what this company is willing to try to do to keep the status quo that is wreaking havoc on the stock price. It's going to be interesting.
Very, very well said, Lorena. All right, we have come to the end. It is in the can, a can of pure excellence, of course, as always, as we continue to endeavor explaining entertainment and keeping you ahead of the culture curve. Folks, you can help us do that by being the gigawatts that drive this all. Like, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms, it's the notification bell, drop a comment down below, and let us know your thoughts. And folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.